1. Wimbledon 2025, Alcaraz keeps his head high after final defeat by Sinner. 2. Jannik Sinner opens up about his 2020 loss to Alcaraz, the turning point. 3. Wimbledon 2024, the Sincaraz rivalry and tennis's new era. 1. Wimbledon 2025, Alcaraz keeps his head high after final defeat by Sinner. Losing a Grand Slam final is devastating, but Carlos Alcaraz just proved why he's a champion beyond trophies. Despite his Wimbledon 2025 defeat to Jannik Sinner, the 22-year-old Spaniard left center court with a smile, and a philosophy that's redefining tennis's mental game. Alcaraz's post-match composure wasn't just gracious, it was strategic. "I left with my head high because I gave everything," he reflected, applauding Sinner's brilliant win. This wasn't humility, it was clarity. For Alcaraz, the loss, 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, wasn't a failure but a milestone in a rivalry that's only just heating up. Both players have lost slam finals only to each other, and their French Open rematch, where Alcaraz erased a 2-set deficit to humiliate Sinner, set the stage for a clash of titans. But here's where it gets interesting, Alcaraz's positivity isn't new. Last year, he crumbled after losing the Olympic final to Novak Djokovic, calling it really, really hard to accept. This time, different feeling, he insisted. "I've learned to accept what comes. The shift isn't accidental." Alcaraz has rebranded frustration into fuel, embracing his fan-favorite status at Wimbledon by practicing on public courts, drawing crowds, and dining with locals, a deliberate contrast to the sport's intensity. And this is the part most people miss, Alcaraz wasn't surprised by Sinner's rebound. "Champions learn from losses," he noted. Sinner's French Open meltdown could have derailed him, but instead, he dominated Alcaraz's serve, a shaky 53% first serve rate, and outmaneuvered him from the baseline. "Sometimes you just have to say, he played better," Alcaraz admitted, a rare admission in a sport where excuses often reign. The controversy. Some critics argue Alcaraz's happy loser vibe undermines his killer instinct. But he's not apologizing. "I want to keep the good moments," he said, even when trailing. It's a gamble. Can relentless positivity coexist with the ruthlessness required to dominate? Alcaraz believes yes, and his 5 slam titles at 22 suggest he's onto something. So, here's the question, is Alcaraz's approach a blueprint for the future, or a temporary high before the pressure breaks him? Sound off, can niceness and nastiness coexist at the top of tennis? 2. Jannik Sinner opens up about his 2020 loss to Alcaraz, the turning point. Startling revelation, what Jannik Sinner admitted about his early loss to Carlos Alcaraz still echoes in his Wimbledon victory. Nobody expected that a match played 4 years ago would carry so much weight in a Grand Slam final, but here we are. The Italian sensation claimed his first Wimbledon crown by outplaying Carlos Alcaraz in 4 thrilling sets on Sunday, completely shaking off the pain of that brutal French Open defeat back in June. It looked as if Sinner had simply moved on, but a confession he made in 2020 shows just how much that earlier encounter with Alcaraz really gnawed at him. Back in 2020, a 19-year-old Jannik Sinner spoke to Sky Italy about one particular loss in Marbella. He had won 3 tournaments in a row, was cruising in the deciding set against a 16-year-old Carlos Alcaraz born in 2003, and even led 3-0. Yet he somehow let the match slip away, dropping the set 3-6 and heading back to the locker room bewildered. He admitted this defeat really bothered him, and for good reason. Here's where it gets controversial. Some experts argue that owning up to such frustrations publicly can actually undermine a player's confidence, while others claim it forges mental toughness. Sinner himself said that loss taught him more than any title could. He learned how to manage momentum, how to stay calm even when he felt in control, and how to respect an opponent's fighting spirit. Just weeks later, at a tournament in Barletta, Italy, Alcaraz proved again why Sinner had every reason to be wary. But rather than dwell on disappointment, Sinner used those lessons as ammunition. Fast forward to 2024 and the roles have shifted. Sinner now stands as world number 1 and Wimbledon champion, while Alcaraz remains one of his fiercest rivals on the ATP Tour. Looking ahead, all eyes turn to the US Open, where Sinner is the clear favorite. He already has 3 hardcourt Grand Slams under his belt, including the 2024 US Open, and has dropped only 2 sets in that tournament. If grass isn't usually a player's best friend, hard courts definitely are Sinner's happy place. And this is the part most people miss: the psychological edge built from that Marbella reversal has become a secret weapon. Do you think an early career setback is the true forge of champions, or does dwelling on past mistakes risk creating self-doubt? And what about sharing those insecurities openly, a brave move or a potential weakness? Join the conversation below. Do you agree that overcoming a bitter loss is essential for greatness, or do you believe it can leave lasting scars? Let us know your thoughts and fire away in the comments. 3. Wimbledon 2024, the Sincaraz rivalry and tennis's new era. Winning at Wimbledon in the era of Sincaraz. Tennis is a sport where victory alone isn't enough. You must continue to triumph. Even being hailed as the greatest of all time isn't sufficient because a new contender is always on the horizon. This was starkly evident in early June at the French Open, where Carlos Alcaraz delivered a performance of a lifetime, clinching the championship. Fast forward just 5 weeks, and Alcaraz found himself back on the grass courts of Wimbledon, facing off against Jannik Sinner, the very player who had nearly dethroned him. Center court at Wimbledon is a shrine to tradition and repetition. As Sinner and Alcaraz stepped onto the hallowed turf on a sunny Sunday afternoon, they were walking in the footsteps of the 4 titans who had dominated the sport, collectively amassing 69 Grand Slam titles. These legends, in turn, had followed in the footsteps of their own predecessors. Sinner and Alcaraz, despite their young age, had already claimed the last 6 Grand Slams between them. Today, one of them would add another to their tally. The audience, dressed in the quintessential Wimbledon attire, blazers, mid-calf dresses, and rosy cheeks, seemed to be reenacting a bygone era. At one humorous moment, a champagne cork landed on the court, prompting the umpire to gently remind the spectators to avoid popping bottles during play. While amusing, this incident also underscored the disconnect between the light-hearted atmosphere and the intense competition unfolding on the court. The crowd was hungry for history, expecting a match that would rival the epic encounter just a month prior. However, this was a tall order, even for 2 players known for their ability to handle immense pressure. The first set, while skillfully played, lacked the extraordinary moments that fans had come to expect. But here's where it gets controversial. Just when it seemed the match might fall short of expectations, the final moments of the first set delivered an unforgettable sequence of shots. With Alcaraz down a set point at 4-5, Sinner served strongly and followed with a powerful forehand, pushing Alcaraz to the tramlines. Alcaraz responded with a deep defensive shot and quickly regained his footing, moving with agile, quick steps. He then executed a forehand down the line, setting up Sinner for what seemed like an easy shot. Sinner obliged with a low, flat cross-court shot, but Alcaraz, showing remarkable agility, slid across the grass to slice a defensive forehand and managed to recover to the center baseline. Sinner cleverly wrong-footed him with his next shot, but Alcaraz, maintaining his balance and combining lightness with sheer effort, hit a sharp forehand across the court. Sinner countered with a powerful running forehand down the line, a shot that would have been a winner in any other context. Yet, Alcaraz, demonstrating incredible reflexes, slid and blocked the ball back with just enough force and wrist control to send it over the net, sealing the set. On set point in the second set, it was Sinner's turn to shine with a miraculous running forehand, hit with such precision and power that it left the audience in awe. These 2 points encapsulated the essence of their rivalry: Alcaraz's creative and improvisational style versus Sinner's technical brilliance. The duel felt natural and almost predestined, but the subsequent play took a less dramatic turn. Sinner's relentless ground strokes and the speed of his shots began to neutralize Alcaraz's unpredictable game, forcing him into a more subdued pattern. Alcaraz's first serve, which had been improving, started to waver, allowing Sinner to capitalize on the returns. Meanwhile, Sinner's serves became increasingly accurate, leaving trails of chalk dust as they landed perfectly on the lines. His eventual 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 victory, his first win against Alcaraz since 2023, began to seem inevitable. The match was clinical, yet undeniably beautiful. Sinner, with his NBA guard-like build and fluid movements, exudes a calm demeanor that complements Alcaraz's burst-like play. Alcaraz's game is characterized by a mix of powerful ground strokes and delicate drop shots. However, on Sunday, his signature spontaneity was muted, perhaps overshadowed by Sinner's brilliance. After the match, Sinner appeared more relieved than elated, maintaining his characteristic composure. The tournament itself was a roller coaster of brilliance and disappointment. Many top players were eliminated early, victims of the slippery grass, the competitive depth of the tour, and, in some cases, their own struggles. Some openly discussed their frustration and the feeling of being trapped in the relentless grind of the tour, where meaning can be elusive. "Losing hurts, you know," said Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1, after her semi-final loss to Amanda Anisimova. "You feel like you want to disappear, like it's the end of the world." There's a long-standing tradition in sports of being driven by the fear or hatred of such feelings. However, the finalists seem to have a different perspective. Anisimova, who had taken a break following her father's death and severe burnout, spoke about finding renewed joy in the game. Iga Swiatek, after a surprising loss on clay, embraced the freedom of playing without the burden of expectations, leading to her dominance on grass. Still, the high stakes were evident in the women's final, where Anisimova, overwhelmed by the moment, was swept aside by Swiatek, 6-0, 6-0, in under an hour. "I had a tough loss in Paris," Sinner reflected during the on-court ceremony. "But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you win or lose important tournaments. You need to understand what went wrong and work on it." That's exactly what we did. We accepted the loss and kept working, and that's why I'm holding this trophy today. This sentiment, often repeated by athletes, seemed genuine for Sinner. He had narrowly escaped elimination in the quarterfinals, when Grigor Dimitrov took the first 2 sets before a pectoral injury forced him out. Sinner didn't view this as a win but as a learning experience. And this is the part most people miss. The outcome of a match matters deeply, as one player walks away with the trophy and the other in pain. Yet, the true value lies in the transcendent moments of competition, where the contest is fueled not by aggression or enmity but by a shared pursuit of excellence. So, let the crowd enjoy their champagne. What truly matters is the spectacle of 2 athletes pushing each other to their limits, creating something new and beautiful. What do you think? Do you agree that the real magic of sports lies in these moments of mutual transcendence, or do you believe the win is everything?